Wrestling Roundup, FreeFM 89.0, real community radio. Okay, so, this day in history with wrestling. The 29th of March, WrestleMania 3 happened in 1989 on the Pontiac Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat went into the match against Macho Man Randy Savage. It was for the WWF Intercontinental Championship. The match was considered by many to be the greatest WrestleMania match of all time, and possibly the greatest match of all time. It contained two of the greatest performers of all time in Steamboat and Savage, and they put on a clinic never before seen for the prestigious Intercontinental Championship. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was victorious on the night, ending Savage's impressive 414-day reign. But I think that match got overshadowed by the main event of the night, the match that everybody remembers, Hulk Hogan against Andre the Giant for the WWF Championship. While this match was not a technical masterpiece that the previous match was, it was the huge impact on sports entertainment, and WWE taking it the way it did. This match is why Vince was able to buy out most of his competitors in the late 80s and early 90s as the territory system broke down. Hogan became bigger than ever just from this match, and as Hogan went, so did the wrestling business. Another amazing coincidence is WrestleMania 14 also happened on this date, back in 1998, in the Fleet Center, Boston, Massachusetts. The late Owen Hart had a great match here against Triple H for the European Championship. But in typical DX fashion, Triple H's manager Chyna cheated to retain the title when she threw some kind of powder in the face of the commissioner Sergeant Slaughter. This caused a distraction to Owen Hart, which allowed Triple H to hit the pedigree and beat Owen, retaining his title. Also, this pay-per-view also housed the first clash of the Brothers of Destruction. The match at WrestleMania. The match also began the tradition of Pete Rose getting beat up by Kane. Kane did everything in his power to defeat Undertaker, hitting him with chokeslams and tombstones, but like everyone else, he couldn't get the job done, and The Undertaker walked out of WrestleMania after a post-match attack, with his streak intact. But the big match of this pay-per-view was the WWF Championship match again. They had a special guest enforcer in Mike Tyson, and it was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Shawn Michaels, who had Triple H and Chyna in his corner. Again, another match that changed the industry and began the end for WCW. This was Shawn Michaels' first match before he had to retire due to an injury suffered at the Royal Rumble. When Austin won the WWE Championship, it was the official beginning of the Attitude Era. Although many say it began before this moment, the Austin era was swept in to change the Monday Night Wars, and WWE never looked back again. Iron Mike Tyson ended up causing Shawn Michaels the match when the ref got knocked out and he made the 1-2-3, awarding the match to Austin. So, on that, I'm going to play you a song right now. It's going to be Hulk Hogan's Real America, theme he used back when he was in the WWE. Thanks. I'm sorry, that was actually Ultimate Warrior's Unstable. Anyway, okay, so we're going to bang on straight away with the Raw recap for this week on what happened on Raw. So Raw opened up as it generally does with the video packages of some rivalries that happened last week. They had the Triple H and Lesnar highlighting the fact that Lesnar attacked the New Age Outlaws and made a deal to face Triple H at WrestleMania without Triple H knowing the stipulation. They also highlighted Undertaker and Punk's rivalry, where Punk interrupted the Paul Bearer tribute night and stole the mystical urn. Then straight after that, Cena came out, did his little talking piece, and was interrupted by the Primetime Players. Nobody really knows what's going on at that point, but Titus O'Neil, to make it even more unbelievable, is coming out with a afro on and glasses and calling himself Rufus Pancake Patterson. They say that they're both ready for WrestleMania 29 and make some jokes about Cena not being able to get the job done. The Primetime Players challenge Cena, and Cena happily accepts. So we have John Cena versus Darren Young with Uncle Rufus. Cena takes over, but Pancake quickly pulls Young out of the ring to avoid an STF, but as in typical Cena fashion, he got Darren Young back into the ring, finished him off quickly with his 5 moves of doom before pinning him for the win. Last week, Ryback and Mark Henry had a bit of a spiff, and the Shield interfered, and Henry helped the Shield beat down Ryback. So this week it's going to be Ryback versus David Otunga. Otunga put up a good fight, but Ryback ultimately squished him on his path to facing Mark Henry at WrestleMania. We all know it's going to happen. Ryback grabs a mic and talks about his 6-man tag match that he's currently scheduled in for WrestleMania, and Henry emerges and tries to attack Ryback, but he's quickly stopped by Vicky and Teddy Long. They inform him that Ryback and Henry will face each other at WrestleMania 29. Told you. Ryback is mad and quickly slams Otunga one more time for emphasis, telling Mark Henry that's what's going to happen to him. Out next, Fandango emerges with his dance partner. He's got some cool pyro effect when he gets in the ring that's like in the shape of him and it fireworks. Then we have some replays last week where Carly butchers Fandango's name. Fandango doesn't really like that, and he gives Natalya a chance this week, but she tells Carly to attack, and Fandango quickly dodges Carly's attack and gets out of the ring, deciding not to debut again tonight. Next up on the matches, we got R-Truth versus Damien Sandow. These two, R-Truth came out in some new white attire that looks like pajamas. They had a good back and forth fight with Damien Sandow saying the R obviously stands for repugnant, and R-Truth firing back with a rhyme, some of which is, your beard is weird and you talk a lot. You could tell these two were going to have a good match. They had some back and forth action, with Sandow going for the finish, near fall. Truth fights back and gets rolling, but Truth would have won off the lie detector, but Sandow decides to walk out on the match, and leaving a count-out victory to R-Truth. Backstage, the Bella Twins are drooling over Cody Rhodes and his mustache, and then Caitlyn comes up to him and tells Cody that she no longer wants to go out with him. Don't really know what's going on there. The Bella Twins aren't really making friends with anybody. They're just annoying everybody. We got some repeats of The Undertaker and CM Punk. Last week, Kane beats CM Punk, but Punk steals the urn after the match, smashes Kane in the back of the head and runs off with the urn, and then mocks The Undertaker. The Undertaker comes out from the back and decides to tell Punk that he has to return the urn or he's going to meet the worst of fates. Punk then appears up on the screen, and he's got the urn. He does a Paul Bearer impersonation using the urn's lid as a mouth, and then he hears the urn talking to him. Punk then decides to diss The Undertaker over and over and over, while throwing the urn around, Globetrotter style, under his legs, popping off his arm, around his body, and then he drops it. The Undertaker is clearly annoyed at this point, and CM Punk ends it with a nice, no disrespect intended. We then go to a video package where we get a list of those that are going into the class of 2013 for the Hall of Fame. I think we got Bruno Sammartino, Trish Stratus, Mick Foley, Donald Trump. I think that's it. I might have forgotten one there. We come out and Team Hell No, who have been on a losing streak to Dolph Ziggler at this point, are going to take on Primo and Epico. Kane's really angry and Bryan's trying to settle him down. Primo and Epico have their moments, but were ultimately kept down by Bryan and Kane. Kane is about to win the match, but AJ Lee comes out. She comes skipping around the ring and Kane gets distracted, and Epico goes for a roll-up, but luckily Kane can kick out and chokeslam Epico for the win. AJ Lee's quite annoyed her distraction didn't lead to them losing. Backstage, Jericho's being interviewed about his triple threat match later tonight. He says he will win. Just as he's about to leave, Fandango walks in. Jericho mocks him with multiple different names, and as we know, Fandango doesn't like you getting his name wrong. We get a video package of WWE in Africa. Natalya and Alicia Fox are in Africa with nothing but nets to provide mosquito nets to children. It's a nice little package there. Then we come on to Cody Rhodes versus Alberto Del Rio. It's a nice technical fight, back and forth, Rhodes and Alberto switching submissions. Alberto takes a big shoulder to the ring post, and he also does a good moonsault, but lands on his bad knee and Rhodes takes advantage. Alberto fights back and hits 9 kidney shots before landing a backbreaker. Rhodes taps out of the cross arm breaker. At this point, I'm pretty sure we all know that Swagger's going to come down. Yep. Swagger attacks him before he can celebrate. Ricardo gets in on it, and Alberto, Swagger, Ricardo, and Zeb all start a huge fight. But Swagger manages to lock in the Patriot lock on Ricardo, and he torts it in such a way that it looks like he snapped Ricardo's ankle. So going back to the Hall of Fame, they're announcing a new inductee, and this new inductee is Booker T, or King Booker. We get some clips of Booker T's career, highlighting his time in WCW, Spinneroonie, King Booker, and that he's a 5-time world champ. Coming out of that, we got the 2 guys who are now partnerless for their WrestleMania match, Randy Orton and Sheamus, taking on the 3-man band. Orton and Sheamus dominate the entire match, as expected. Orton with the RKO to Heath for the win. Quite obvious that was going to happen. And then again, obvious, the Shield's music plays. They enter through the crowd, but before the Shield can get to the ring, it looks like Orton and Sheamus have found a partner. Big Show comes flying out from the back for the save and evens the numbers. This makes the Shield retreat as Show points to the WrestleMania sign to signify he wants in on that 6-man tag match. Then Kofi Kingston's going to take on Dolph Ziggler, who's on his hot streak, who also has Big E Langston and AJ Lee in his corner. Lots of high-flying and brutal grapples here, but Ziggler has the advantage. Kofi mounts a comeback, but is easily distracted by AJ. And then Big E takes Kofi out in midair, and Ziggler capitalizes to take the win. Team Hell No aren't happy and emerge from the back to challenge Ziggler and Big E. AJ then pulls out a microphone and accepts, as long as it's for the championships at WrestleMania. Team Hell No think about it for a little while and then accept. That's going to be a nice match there. They got 4 good talent all in a match for the tag team titles. Then we go to the advertised match from last week. Triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. Wade Barrett, the champion, taking on The Miz and Chris Jericho. Wade Barrett interfered in The Miz and Jericho's #1 contender match last week, and that's what set up this triple threat. There's chaotic action, there's no alliances, every man for himself. A massive top rope powerbomb superplex combo takes out everyone. Jericho's lion salt saved Barrett from Miz's figure 4. Miz saves Barrett, this time from the walls of Jericho. These 3 men are trading near falls with back and forth action. Barrett ends it with a roll-up on Miz after he just hit Jericho with a skull-crushing finale, and he gets the 1-2-3 and is the winner. Now the anticipated event of the night, Triple H and Brock Lesnar for their contract signing. Heyman comes out with the contract. He has 3 security guard guys behind him and no Brock Lesnar. Lesnar's already signed the contract, and Heyman keeps recapping everything to Triple H like he's stupid. Heyman replays the clip of Triple H and Lesnar brawling, with Triple H winning and Lesnar busted open. Heyman tries a few ideas for the match type. He's got blindfolded, Triple H bound up, winner gets Stephanie McMahon, but then fires this line that really annoys Triple H. Wouldn't it be more fitting if the loser gets Stephanie? Triple H takes out the security guard and yanks on Heyman's ponytail and tortures him some more. Triple H signs the contract on Heyman's chest and dumping Heyman out of the ring. Lesnar's music hits and Lesnar has a chair, but Triple H gets his sledgehammer out from under the ring. Lesnar throws the chair at Triple H before retreating with Heyman, who finally reveals the stipulation. It's going to be Triple H versus Brock Lesnar in a no-holds-barred match. And that's not it. If Triple H loses, he's fired. Raw went off with the air with everyone thinking about that at the moment. So now we're going to go to a current entrance theme currently used from TNA. We're going to have James Storm's Long Necks and Rednecks. That was James Storm's Long Necks and Rednecks. So we're going to crack straight on into the Friday Night SmackDown's recap. Now, I've got to say before I start this, I got quite bored during SmackDown. There wasn't much new stuff. It was pretty much all repeats of Raw. So we started off with a Miz TV segment with Miz having Orton and Sheamus, asking them who they're going to pick. And they don't exactly trust Big Show, so they're not sure if they should pick him. So Miz brings out the Big Show as his third guest. JBL spits out a cool line. I don't care if you trust him, I don't care if you like him, I don't care if you want to go to lunch with him, you pick the Giant. Show says he doesn't care about any of them, but wants to take out the Shield. So Orton and Show get into it. Orton tries to break him up. Sheamus and Show get into it, and Orton tries to break him up. Miz interjects and points out that Randy is the voice of reason, and that there's got to be something wrong in this world. Booker T comes out and sets the three of them to take on another three people for the six-man tag match later tonight to see if they can get along. We then go to Zack Ryder versus Mark Henry. It's pretty obvious how this is going to come out. You can easily tell. Henry makes easy work of Ryder and dominates him with a world's strongest slam for the win. He then slams him again after the bell and a third time before Ryback comes out for the save. Ryback and Henry stare down before Ryback knocks Henry down with a clothesline. I'm getting quite excited for these two's WrestleMania match, to be honest. I think it's going to be a big battle of the behemoths, and I'm going to enjoy watching them go at it. We go backstage, and Booker T isn't happy that Teddy consulted with Vicky, and Booker insults Teddy and says that he's his employee and not Vicky's. Okay, we got Dolph Ziggler taking on Kofi Kingston again. This is pretty much a replay of the match they had on Raw, except AJ Lee's on commentary. She sits cross-legged on the table, not your normal commentary position, but hey. Come WrestleMania, you'll have dated everyone but the referee. JBL's just comedy gold on the announce table here. He's just spitting out all of these things that are so funny. Again, it ends with Big E nailing Kofi Kingston in mid-air, and Ziggler winning again, just like on Raw. After the match, Big E hits a big ending just for fun on Kofi. Backstage, we see more of Show and Sheamus arguing, with Orton breaking them up. I don't know if these guys can get along, to be honest. They're gonna have to implode sooner or later. Then we get Chris Jericho versus Jack Swagger with Zeb Coulter. We get a whole bunch of repeats about Swagger breaking Ricardo's ankle. Swagger and Zeb say that Alberto and Ricardo are not meant to be in Swagger's America, all of that crap. Swagger uses his strength to dominate Jericho, but Jericho keeps getting some swift reversals that take control of the match. They trade momentum, but Jericho, as the veteran, manages to keep taking control. It all works until Jericho is locked into the Patriot Lock. He manages to counter, but Fandango interrupts with his music. Swagger takes advantage. Jericho again reverses until Fandango kicks Jericho in the head and Swagger finishes it with a Swagger bomb. After the match, Fandango runs into the ring and continues to beat down on Jericho. He then goes up to the top rope and does a massive leg drop and teaches Jericho how to say his name. We then go to Matt Striker, who's interviewing Big Show. Big Show pretty much just says that they'll have to trust them and get along with them. Then we get the 100th replay of this Rock Cena package that they've made. I'm getting really annoyed at this package at this point. Team Rhodes Scholars with the Bella Twins are taking on Tensai and Brodus Clay with Naomi and Cameron. Rhodes and Sandow and the Bellas are in the ring, and they have this whole talk about the Bella Twins being the class of the Divas division. Then Tensai and Clay come out. For some reason, Tensai has on a coonskin hat. I don't think anyone gets that, to be honest, but hey. The big men dominate for a while, but then on the outside, the women start brawling in a pull-apart brawl. I'm foreseeing an 8-man mixed tag between these people sooner or later. The ref calls for the disqualification. He just ended the match there. Then Orton and Sheamus are now being interviewed by Matt Striker. Sheamus says everybody trusts everyone, and then finishes it with a very sarcastic, "Trust me." Then we come back out into the ring and we watch Antonio Cesaro for about 50th time now. I've seen these guys go at it so many times, I'm kind of bored of it. There was nothing special. The biggest surprise is that Miz made Cesaro trap out very quickly in the match. I thought it might have gone a little longer. Barrett was on commentary, and after the match, The Miz locked in the figure 4 leg lock again to intimidate Barrett, who just walks out. Now we got our main event of the night. It's not going to be much of a main event, but Randy Orton and Sheamus with Big Show are going to take on the 3-man band. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just told you on Raw that just Orton and Sheamus took out these guys, but hey. The good guys, we're going to have no trouble with these guys anyway. Orton and Sheamus look good together. Show does a hilarious copy of Sheamus's clobbering move with the ropes. The good guys keep dominating. Sheamus does a hot tag and tags himself in off Show after he KO punches McIntyre. Sheamus then bro kicks Mahal for the win. Show gets in Sheamus's face about him tagging himself in, but then the Show's music hits and they emerge from the crowd. Show attacks Sheamus and shoves Orton back. The three of them stop fighting long enough to hold back the Shield. The Shield again decide to retreat, and we end again on the Shield retreating. So that's it for SmackDown. I don't think, yeah. We're going to put on a few facts here today. This week, there's quite a few wrestlers who have had birthdays. I don't know if you guys remember Jesse or Slam Master Jay. He wrestled with Jesse and Festus back in 2007 to 2010. He's now retired, but on the 23rd he turned 34. On the 24th, 4 different people had birthdays. Christopher Daniels in TNA with a tag team. He turned 43. Epico, who you'll remember, he tags with Primo and was on Raw. He's turning 30. Jack Swagger, who's currently scheduled to take on Alberto Del Rio in the World Heavyweight title match at WrestleMania, turns 31. And The Undertaker, the guy that should have retired a while ago, is turning 48 before his match with Punk. Now, I don't know if you remember this stable they used to have called the Spirit Squad, but there was a member in it called Mikey, and on the 26th, he became 30 years old. He's now wrestling in Ring of Honor. Another guy who's wrestling in Ring of Honor is Charlie Haas. He was in the WWE for 10 years, and he's turning 41 on the 27th. Now, on the 28th, there's a few birthdays here that I've got to remember. One of the best wrestlers there ever was, Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, would have turned 55 on the 28th. And Umaga, he would have turned 40. He was an Intercontinental Champion and a fierce competitor. So on a lighter note, we're going to come out and I'm going to have a look at the WrestleMania card that we've got so far. So far we got The Undertaker versus CM Punk. That rivalry's heated up over the last few weeks. Really got to wonder what these two are going to put on. I think it's going to be a great match with these guys going at it. I think that The Undertaker will definitely come out on top. There's no way he won't. He's got to keep that streak going. We've also got Jack Swagger versus Alberto Del Rio for the World Heavyweight title. My opinion on this is that Alberto Del Rio will win, and Dolph Ziggler will come in and cash in on the grandest stage of them all, and he will become the World Heavyweight Champion at WrestleMania. Which means that Dolph Ziggler and Big E will lose the Tag Team Championship against Team Hell No, which will probably be the opening match to give Ziggler enough time to really get focused again. What else do we have? We got The Rock versus John Cena for the WWE Championship. Now, WWE could do a massive swerve here and have The Rock retain, but at the moment it's looking like Cena has to win. The Rock is going to leave to go film movies. I haven't seen him in ages. He just hasn't been on TV that enough as the WWE Champion. So Cena's going to take it off him, and we're finally going to have a WWE Champ that's actually on TV. As much as I hate Cena, I hate the WWE Champ being missing more. Just remember that you can go to facebook.com/Wrestling Roundup Radio, and you can get the updates from me, and we might be holding a competition or two on there later. And that's me, Grady, for Wrestling Roundup for the day, for the week. I'll see you next week. See ya.